Bear down, Chicago Bears. La 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 la. That's right. Tonight is the night as the Chicago Bears will take on the Minnesota Vikings on the lakefront at 7:15 p.m. on ABC and ESPN. We'll have you set with our preview with our good friend Miss Dionne Miller from ABC 7 Chicago coming up. The rest of the week one NFL action had some mixed results, some surprising, some not surprising. We'll review all with you. In baseball, the Cubs had their worst series of the year at bad timing. That, along with injuries, will they literally limp into the playoffs as one of the favorites in the National League? And we'll have a special edition of Old School TV Monday honoring the 85 Chicago Bears as they're approaching their 40th anniversary this year. That and a whole lot more as the Monday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to this Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports So Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which she's over here. I am Sidney Brown. You better know that it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and yours again, the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, just like some dumb fan in Miami did over the weekend, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumbos to build and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE, Live Entertainment Game. Checking us out right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:19 p.m. Central Standard Time. But let's not forget much love to the replay game. Also, checking us out on the replay on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment, we will provide.
And we provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports as usual. We'll have a week 2 recap of college football. We'll also do baseball as the Cubs sneak it up against the Nationals, while the White Sox are showing a little bit of fight, taking 2 out of 3 against the Detroit.
Hey!
Also, Carlos Alcaraz gets his revenge against Yannick Sinner at the U.S. Open men's final yesterday. A special edition of Old School TV Monday as we salute the 40th anniversary of the 85 Super Bowl winning champion Bears. And speaking of the Bears, we have not forgotten they do open up their season against the Vikings at home tonight. We got our girl Miss Dionne Miller from ABC 7 Chicago and ESPN Chicago to join us for a few minutes to preview that and so much more. But first, Sid, let's do since we don't have to worry about recapping a Bears game today, we can just go into week 1 of the NFL. There are some standouts, some surprises, some comebacks, and some head scratchers. We'll start with the Friday game down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, that was exclusively streamed on YouTube and YouTube TV. The Chargers upset the Chiefs 27-26. Justin Herbert had 318 yards and passed for 3 touchdowns. He also had 32 rushing TDs, including a nice 15-yard scamper that sealed the win for the Chargers. Excuse me. And Quentin Johnston had 79 receiving yards and 2 TDs. On the flip side for the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, 258 and a TD. And he also led the team in rushing with 57. Hollywood Brown had led the receiving yards with 99 and such. But Sid, it was really sort of like the little things that the Chargers did that kind of put that game up. And also, too, Jim Harbaugh is now 7-0 in NFL openers, so he breaks that record. What do you think about that game on Friday?
Yeah, the Chargers had the Chargers had a well balanced attack, both running and passing. You mentioned about Patrick Mahomes. He still isn't back to the MVP form, in my opinion. Give the Chargers defensive credit. They held them down through the first three quarters until they woke up in the fourth quarter. But the Chargers had a game play. They did what they had to. Remember, we talked about this on Friday. I thought that the Chiefs would use Isaiah Pacheco a little bit more. They didn't do that to my liking. On the flip side for the Chargers, they were aggressive defensively. Justin Herbert shredded the Chiefs secondary apart for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Chargers were the better team. The Chiefs, as we talked about before with the atmosphere, Brazil and all that, the NFL treated it like it was a Super Bowl. So the Chiefs had experience in that. But as you mentioned, it was the little things that the Chiefs did not do down the stretch that the Chargers did to secure that victory. The better team won. The Chargers did. Now they have an edge on the Chiefs as far as the season series. They'll play again later on in the year. But the Chargers, I thought, grew up here. We talked about their issues with the offensive line with Slater being out for the year, but they protected Justin Herbert and he picked them apart.
Yeah, he really did, and it was interesting because they didn't have their other best O lineman. I know he was out. We talked about it. Becton was out, but Skyler did it. Yeah, Soller did a great job protecting him. He was only sacked 3 times, which it wasn't, it didn't really turn out to really hurt them. So it actually ended up working, for the Chargers and let's, for the Chargers, give them credit that defense. I know Joey Bosa isn't there anymore, but a lot of the younger guys in that defense step up. I mean, Derwin James had a couple, knocked a couple of passes down. Dante Jackson had a nice showing too. Holai Gilman, he led the team with 4 solo tackles. So I think that was that was really kind of like the big difference there. They just really couldn't get the Chiefs. Once you thought the Chiefs would get into a rhythm, they would, so they would actually make the big play to stop it. So give the Chargers credit for doing what they did and being able to upset the Chiefs.
And also, too, the Chiefs had an early injury to Xavier Worthy. He crossed paths with Travis Kelce accidentally separating that shoulder. So the Chiefs, we talked about the last couple of years suffering injuries, especially to their wide receivers, whether it's through suspensions and injuries and whatnot. That Xavier Worthy injury is going to hurt the Chiefs literally down the road. So hopefully he gets well and gets back soon, because Patrick Mahomes is going to get more than just Travis Kelce to throw the ball to, obviously.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens as they face the Eagles this week. So I'm like, does it get easier for the Chiefs there as we go into the new games from yesterday? We'll start in the NFC down in New Orleans. Shout out to our buddy Nick King from Arizona Family with his CBS affiliate in Phoenix as the Cardinals beat the Saints 20-13. Not the prettiest game, but look, Kyler Murray threw for 163 yards and 2 TDs. Trey Benz, I should say, had 69 rushing yards. On the flip side, Spencer Rattler, 214 yards. Alvin Kamara had a rushing touchdown there. But again, not the prettiest, but if you're Arizona, you take the win. Like I said, they were 3-1 last year when, traveling across country and to play a new game. Marvin Harrison Jr. Had got his first TD of the season. He didn't get his first TD. I think it's like week 3 or 4. So he's already well ahead in that respect. But look, Arizona did just enough to win that game, and they leave New Orleans 1-0. That's all you can ask for if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, the Cardinals were the aggressive team here. You mentioned about Kyler Murray. He took the offense by storm. Marvin Harrison Jr. is back. As you mentioned, he struggled last year. We talked about it with our guests last week. It took a while on the flip side for the Saints to get it going offensively. Spencer Rattler, as you mentioned, had 214 passing yards for the Saints there. But the Saints only totaled 3 points in the second half. They tried to come back late, but it was a little bit too late. Arizona were the better team here, and that's why they won.
Yeah, overcame 5 sacks from Kyler Murray. So look, if you could overcome 5 sacks, I mean you deserve to win that game. That's what Arizona did yesterday. Now, not too far from here, about 3 hours down south east, you got Indy, and Indy just pummeled the Dolphins 33-8. The three of us, me, Sin, our girl Christine Macro, KXRB, we all picked the Colts. I don't think anybody saw this coming though. Daniel Jones,
Mm-mm.
one TD pass, 272 yards. He also had 2 rushing TDs. So if you had him on your fantasy team, you had a nice showing there yesterday. And on the flip side, Tua Tagovailoa, 2 interceptions. Just Devin Kane only had 55 rushing yards, and it was just Michael Pittman had a TD. Junior had a TD catch, and it was basically all Colts. Xavier Howard, who they just added not too long ago, had a fumble recovery. So yeah, it was basically all Colts all the time. Yesterday, I should say.
If you're a Dolphins fan, what the hell was that? It's one thing to come out flat to start the game, but just to play like crap for the entire game, it didn't make any sense to me. On the flip side, you mentioned for the Colts, everything was going like a well-oiled run machine. You mentioned Daniel Jones, 272 passing yards, Jonathan Taylor, 71 yards, and Michael Pittman Jr. with a receiving touchdown off of 80 yards and 6 catches. The Colts did put on the clinic. Now, are they that much better than the Dolphins? Maybe not, but they were yesterday. And if you're owner Stephen Ross of the Miami Dolphins, I know this is going to be a theme throughout this hour. The first 2 or 3 weeks of any season in the NFL to open up the season is overreaction week, but I don't think I'll be overreacting and saying if the Dolphins keep this up for the next month or so. I think you mentioned Mike McDaniel will get his pink slip and link card. This definitely cannot continue for the Dolphins. I know they weren't paid to do anything coming into this year, but if this kind of lack of effort keeps up, I don't think you have too much longer to wait before you give him his walking papers.
Yeah, for only 40 receiving yards for Tyreek Hill. And we know there have been rumors that he might not be happy there. He may want to get traded at some point in the season. So, yeah, not looking good for the folks down there in South Beach, at least not so far.
Yep. And let's go over where we had some better results at the end in the NFC South, where we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Atlanta Falcons 23-20. Michael Penix Jr. for the Falcons, 27-42, 298 yards and a touchdown pass. Baker Mayfield, 5 carries for 39 yards for the Buccaneers. Bijan Robinson had a day yesterday. 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, including that 57-yarder to start the game on the second touch of the year, scoring the first NFL touchdown of the new year. LaKeena, we talked about the Falcons having expectations to start the year, but they were hanging with the Bucs early, dominated them early, but the Bucs from the second quarter on woke up and they took the bull by the horns, executing down the stretch and winning by 3 at the end.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield was really good. He had that long TD pass to Ibuka, who actually he ended up having a nice showing there as well. But it was a battle of the kickers, and not in a good way. Chase McLaughlin, after that go-ahead touchdown by the Bucs, actually missed the extra points. Yahoo Koo could have tied the game. It was only about like a 38-yarder, which he makes those in his sleep. Well, he hooked it left, and that's how the Bucs were able to hang on in that game yesterday. So, look, not the prettiest game, but again, if you're the Bucs, you'll take the win. I know Baker said it in the post game that they didn't play their best game, but the defense. Look, sometimes luck. So sometimes you luck in the NFL, and that's what happened with the Bucs yesterday. So yeah, you take that win in the edge in the NFC South as we go into the season.
Yeah, not to overreact, but is this another ugly trend to come for the Atlanta Falcons, or losing close games like they did last year, especially with Kirk Cousins before he went out with an injury? I don't know, but they got to get it together and get it together fast because they have a Sunday night game next week on the road against Minnesota, which is going to be tough within itself.
All right, going to take a really quick break, and we'll after this break, we'll talk about the rest of the week 1 schedule, including studs and duds, including well, I know Sid will have the bone to pick with some of the play calls from last night's game that comeback against the Bills. Was it all Bills, or was it like the Ravens once again? Well, we'll talk about that coming up next. So, Keenan McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More NFL Week 1 recap with studs and duds coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago's the Monday Extravaganza edition. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena right there. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. I guess I just do the Dave Flowers wave.
Yeah, well, so yeah, is it this way or is it that way? I don't know. Who knows? You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X and QSG the IG.
I had to adjust my camera here, folks. For those of you that's listening exclusively, if you have any questions or comments for us, reviewing Week 1's action from the National Football League from yesterday's games, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Let's go to Foxborough and shout out to our buddy Spiro Dews who had the call of this game for CBS. The Raiders held off if my computer can act right here. They held off the Patriots and a really solid showing by Geno Smith. Now, Brock Bowers did get nicked up a little bit, but the good news is that it looks like it's not a serious injury. It was more precautionary. That's why Carroll took him out. But Sid, what do you think about that game yesterday in Foxborough?
A strong start by the Raiders, even though Geno Smith had an early turnover. He bounced back. He had 362 total passing yards yesterday. So I thought it was a good showing for Geno, especially after that early turnover. Ashton Genty scored the game clinching touchdown in that third quarter. He had 19 carries for 38 yards. I thought he was going to get a little bit more yardage, but it looks like as the game went on, he started to gain more confidence and get those tough yards. And on the flip side for New England, Christian Gonzalez, his injury in that New England secondary, it was very noticeable yesterday. They definitely missed him. Drake May didn't have a good day. Trevian Henderson, my guy in there, got a couple of carries, but that New England offense really looked disorganized and discombobulated. I still think they're going to be one of the most improved teams when it's all said and done, but yesterday it just did not look good.
Yeah, they really did, and it showed a little bit of promise, and it looks like they were, because they kind of started to catch up a little bit, but unfortunately, it ended up not being the case for the Patriots, and the Raiders. The Raiders were able to pull off one and got the big win down in Foxborough. So good for them. And look, Smith looked good. I mean, he was sacked 4 times, but it really didn't matter. I know Genty had 38 rushing yards in his official NFL debut. So, but yeah, I think you take the win if you're the Raiders. So it's fine.
One of the other entertaining games of the early slate took place in East Rutherford, New Jersey at the New Meadowlands as the New York Jets lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers by the score of 34-32. A-Rod and the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers in his Pittsburgh Steelers debut, 4 touchdown passes off of 244 yards passing. Breece Hall for the Jets had 19 carries for 107 yards. Garrett Wilson for the Jets had 7 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. LaKeena, I know most of the nation couldn't hear. Chicago got this game. One, it was the debut of CBS NFL analyst J.J. Watt next to Ian Eagle for the CBS's number 2 crew. And number 2, Justin Fields, I thought, had a balanced performance yesterday. He had more passing yards than rushing yards. You can tell the new head coach Aaron Glenn wants to run the ball for the Jets this year, take that pressure off of Justin Fields. But on the flip side, for both of these teams, both their defenses got shellacked yesterday. If you had told me that this would have been the final score, I wouldn't have believed you.
Well, also, first shout out to JJ Watt. I think did a really solid job with Ian Eagle, and you could tell he was prepared. He was very concise, and he actually sounded really good. So, yeah, I'm sure he's only going to get better. So, and you could tell the size disparity between him and I, and that you could tell that was a little bit weird, but for the couple of little shots that they show. But yeah, I mean, this game right here, I mean, look, Chris Boswell hit like a 62-yarder, which ties a career high for him, and I think, 60 yards, I should say. And I know Mike Tomlin called him a serial killer, which don't take that literally, folks, but he was being metaphoric. Yeah, but yeah, this is a nice win for the Steelers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he threw for 4 TDs, 244 yards. The defense, did what they could late, so they were able to do that. You kind of wonder, like, did the Jets leave like some points on the board, and perhaps maybe should have given the ball to Breece Hall more, but who knows? And poor Garrett Wilson, I know he almost got shellacked in that which would have been a 4 for 3, which would have been a first down. And, and I wonder, like, maybe if Fields, he had a little bit of open space, he probably would have been better off just taking it himself. But it is what it is. But yeah, a nice big win for the Steelers, and it just showed some promise. I don't know. Look, no one's really expected the Jets to do anything this year for the most part. But yeah, I think if you're the Steelers, you'll leave there with the win.
Yeah. The Steelers got away with one yesterday, in my opinion. Yes, the Jets defense got after Rodgers early, but the Steelers hung in there and hung in there tough and made the little plays down the stretch. The Jets, even like you said, even though that no one expects the Jets to sneak into the playoffs this year, there are some encouraging signs there. Fields played well. Breece Hall, he's been injured ever since he's been in the NFL. He had over 100 yards rushing. So there's a positive side that Aaron Glenn and his coaching staff could take from this. I think hopefully they can build upon this as the season goes along.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Now, going to just outside DC in Landover, Maryland, as the Commanders beat the Giants. Most of the nation, including here in Chicago, got this game on Fox 21-6. Jaden Daniels, 233 yards in the TD. Ja'Cory McCroskey Merritt, call him Bill. That's his words, not mine. He had
We didn't get married.
yeah, exactly. 82 rushing yards and a TD for him. Debo in his regular season debut with the Commanders, 77 receiving yards. Zach Ertz had a TD catch as well. On the flip side, though, for the Giants, Russell Wilson, 168 yards, but really nothing much. And he led the team in rushing. I noticed it hits him the QB, leads the team in rushing. Blake Nevers has 71 receiving yards. First game of his second regular season of his second year. But yeah, it was really all the Commanders. I know that the stats don't look like that they didn't really dominate, but in essence, they kind of did.
Yeah, the Commanders didn't play their best on offense, but they did just enough to get by the Giants. The Commanders I know many people expect them to take a step back this year, but you have to wonder if they played down to their opponent. I think that's a fair question to ask, because like you said, that it didn't look dominant if you just read the stat sheet, they didn't look like they dominated the game. But I think because the way that the Giants play, it looked like that they crushed them. They really didn't, but. The New York Giants, their tight end Johnson, for what I saw, like in total of 5 live action minutes, there he dropped 2 passes where when the Giants were in the red zone, so that didn't look good. Russell Wilson, I think his days as an NFL quarterback are over. If you're a New York Giants fan, you're begging head coach Brian Daboll, who could be out the door as well by season's end, by the way. You were begging Brian Daboll to put in Jackson Dart, because if Russell Wilson stays in there, that Giants offense is going to go straight down the Hudson River and then some. So I didn't see any consistent running yesterday. The passing was terrible. Their defense actually wasn't that bad. Yes, I know they gave up 21 points, but you ask your defense to bend but don't break on a consistent basis. Your offense is playing like crap. This is what it looks like, and you saw what happened yesterday.
Well, and shout out to Tom Brady too. I think he sounded really good. So much better than he did last year in his opener. You can tell that the improvements there. So he sounded good yesterday too. And Daniels, I know he was very happy now that he has a Bill Korkowski Merritt, because he feels good knowing that that it's good to have someone else getting chased for a change in the rushing department. So he was very appreciative of that. Of course, he won the LFG player of the game. Now, going into the well, no, this is not the last game of the new game, but then Jacksonville 26-10. Carolina lose to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence had 178 yards in a TD. Travis Etienne had 143 yards for them as well. And the Panthers just couldn't get it going. Bryce Young had 154 passing yards, a TD, but also 2 interceptions that kind of killed whatever momentum that the Panthers had. And unlike the other one, this was actually really pretty much all Jags.
Yeah, the Jaguars dominated from start to finish. We saw glimpses of Travis Hunter. He had 18 touches in the first half. As we said, it's going to take him time to get acclimated to the NFL game. I know he wants to play both ways, both offensively and defensively, so that's going to take some time. But Trevor Lawrence actually looked like an NFL quarterback. I know teams don't want him because Jacksonville gave him that money big time money over a year ago. But Trevor Lawrence was poised in the pocket. He made some plays with his feet as well. But Travis Etienne was the star for that Jacksonville offense with 60 carries for 143 yards. So let's not forget now, second-year wide receiver Brian Thomas. He had a rushing touchdown yesterday as well. So Jacksonville has some decent weapons around Trevor Lawrence. Let's see if they can take advantage of it.
The last game of the new window, the Battle of Ohio, Cincy hold off the Browns 17-16, 113 yards and a TD for Joe Burrow. And by his standards, Chase Brown, no relation, and a former Illini grad, 43 rushing yards. On the flip side, though, Flacco, 2 interceptions, 290 yards, and a TD. So again, this is not the prettiest. I think. Look, we've had questions about the Bengals defense. They actually had a big interception late that actually sealed the win for the Bengals. So again, you take the win, but I know Cincy fans are not very happy, especially with we heard this assessment from about Joe Burrow yesterday.
Yeah, Cincinnati's offense looked like crap, especially in that second half, only totaling 3 points. As you mentioned, Cincinnati's defense they were non-existent in that first half, but they came through when they had to at the end. On the other side for Cleveland, Myles Garrett and crew, they were bull rushing Joe Burrow, especially on the right side where Garrett plays, and he got a couple of sacks. But the Browns may need a new kicker, because kicking is the bigger part of the game is ever before in the National Football League. So Cleveland they had their chances to win the game. They outplayed the Bengals for the most part, but you don't have a kicker and other things start to go against you. This is what happened. Cincinnati, they were lucky to get this win yesterday. They really didn't deserve to win. Cleveland gave it away, in my opinion.
Probably so. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we recap week 1 of the NFL. Now, starting the 3 o'clock window, the 49ers 17-13 over Seattle in the NFC West. Brock Purdy, 2 TDs, 277 yards, and 2 interceptions. Christian McCaffrey looks like he's looking really good, 69 rushing yards. Ricky Pearsall, 108 yards. Of course, George Kittle hurt his hamstring, so we didn't see too much of him. He only had 4 receptions. They were being very cautious with that. Now, on the flip side, though, for Seattle, Sam Darnold, 150 yards, no TDs. Zach Charbonnet had a rushing TD and 47 yards. Jackson Smith and Nigba had 124 receiving yards. But it was really the defense for San Francisco. Again, not the prettiest performance on their offense, but guys like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, those guys actually kind of, especially a lot of the younger guys that they signed and drafted during the offseason, they kind of led the way for the 49ers here.
Yeah, defense was the calling card for the 49ers at the end. You mentioned with Nick Bosa with that strip sack fumble that basically sealed it. After the 49ers scored that touchdown to open the first quarter, they struggled offensively until the fourth quarter where they put up the final 10 points. Seattle, they had their chances. It was basically the defense that kept them in the game. They actually had their chances, but they just couldn't, outside of Jackson Smith and Nibba, as you mentioned, with 124 yards. They really couldn't get them going, especially in that second half. So the 49ers defense came through. We worried about them coming into the year, but they did a job slamming the door short on any Seattle hopes of a comeback. So Christian McCaffrey, as you mentioned, he looked good, even though he had 69 rushing yards. So you want to keep him fresh and keep him healthy for the long haul. Not giving him too much to start out the year, coming off an injury-riddled season last year. So the 49ers, like you said, wasn't pretty, but they got the job done against their division foe on the road to start the year. So the 49ers, props out to them to get a tough win on the road to start 2025.
Yeah, they had 3 fumble recoveries in total, including that Bosa fumble recovery that sealed that win. So it was definitely the defense for them. Now going to the Mile High City in Denver, the Broncos held off the Titans 20-12. Bo Nix 1 TD, 176 yards, but he had 2 interceptions. On the flip side, Cam Ward in his debut, 112 yards, but he was sacked 6 times. So the Broncos defense gave him a little welcome to the NFL moment there. It was actually really the defense. Again, this wasn't the prettiest game. So if you saw this game, I feel bad for you. A very ugly way. You had turnovers. You had drop passes. Yeah. It was just a. Yeah, if you stuck with this game, God bless you. If you stuck with this game yesterday,
I saw the highlights on these YouTube streets earlier today, and I'm glad I didn't turn to this game. But I don't know if you saw it, LaKeena, on social media. Cam Ward's dad was there yesterday. He almost walked out because he couldn't handle his son taking a tough day in the pocket. But I digress. But give Tennessee Titans defense credit. I know they weren't as aggressive as the Broncos, but they kept the Broncos offense in check in it most of that first half. And of course, the second half, Denver woke up. But I think this is more about the Broncos than the Titans, to be honest with you. You mentioned with Bo Nix with 2 interceptions, but Denver's running game, I thought was non-existent in that first half. They got to go in that second half. RJ Harvey had 6 carries for 70 yards total, but I think this was more about what the Broncos didn't do instead of what the Titans than what the Titans and Cam Ward. The Broncos, they got away with one, but because the Titans couldn't get anything going offensively. But the Broncos, it was more about them what they didn't do until the fourth quarter there.
Yeah, Dobbins has 63 rushing yards and 16 carries. And Patrick Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year, you didn't really hear anything from him. So, but luckily, like you had Hufanga had a couple of big plays. Brandon Jones, I know he recovered a fumble. So again, and look, the Titans, we talked about the Titans defense for a long time. The defense really hasn't been the issue. I mean, they had a couple of interceptions, but like it was, again, this was the kind of game where we always tease about those 1980s games where this was kind of like that. Oh, that's just the score, which is better. That's all it was.
Yeah. Yeah, as I would say, as LaKeena likes it, secretly ugly 1980s football. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here with you, recapping the Week 1 action from yesterday in the National Football League. Another ugly result, if you look at the scoreboard. But in Lambeau Field, most of this nation, including Chicago, got to see the Green Bay Packers in the debut of Micah Parsons. The Packers dominated the Detroit Lions 27-13. Remember, the Packers were 1-5 in the division last year, still qualified for the playoffs. For Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, he was 31-39 for 225 yards and 5 yards and a touchdown pass. Josh Jacobs for the Packers, 19 carries, 66 yards to the score. Sam Laporta for the Lions, 6 carries for 6 catches, I should say, for 79 yards. LaKeena, it was total domination from the word go. Detroit didn't have a running game. Jared Goff, even though I just read statistics, that he really didn't have a good game. I agree with Herman Edwards. He said on SportsCenter last night that the Detroit miss Aaron Glenn, they miss Ben Johnson. It's going to take some time. I'm not saying that the Detroit's going to miss the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to be as bad as they were yesterday, but you could tell that they missed their two coordinators, and it's going to take some time.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't watch this game much yesterday. I kind of kept it like in the background because like once Green Bay scored those first 10 points, I'm just like, yeah, this isn't gonna look good. Jordan Love had a couple of TD passes. You talked about Josh Jacobs. Romeo Doubs had 68 receiving yards. Jaden Reed had a TD catch. So, for me, it was just not very good. Tucker Kraft also, their tight end, had a catch as well. And it's sort of definitely one of those days where you could tell that, yeah, it's going to be a while. 4 sacks, Goff was sacked 4 times, and that's not good. Gibbs and Montgomery, Thunder and Lightning, they only had a combined 44 receiving yards. That's not going to win you a lot of games. So it's just one of those days where it's like, it is definitely going to be the adjustment period for those 2 new coordinators for Detroit. Now, the Bears do play Detroit on Sunday, so hopefully we'll have somebody on from the Detroit side to talk about this because I know they'll probably would know more about this than we do. But the Packers look a nice win to start off the year, a nice division win as well, and especially Parsons. You didn't hear too much from him, but again, he only had I think 1 solo tackle. But again, everyone else did the job. Edgerrin Cooper had 12 total tackles, including 8 solo tackles. Gary had 3 solo tackles, including a sack, one of those sacks against Goff. So, yeah, I think, look, if you're the Packers, you'll take the win. Now, Detroit, it might be an adjustment period, but we'll have to wait and see.
And we said this about Green Bay as well. It's going to take time for Micah Parsons to get used to his new teammates and get used to that system that he played in Dallas. Is going to be a totally different system in Green Bay, as you mentioned. Parsons is going to get double teamed. Is the job of the other guys to step up, and that's what they did yesterday. And Parsons only played 45% of the snaps.
Yep, so definitely going to be get his groove going there. Now going to Los Angeles, 14-9. No, this is not the Dodgers beating the Astros. This is actually the Rams beating
the Rockies.
The Reds beat the Texans. But Matthew Stafford, a TD, 245 yards. Kyron Williams, I know he left for a little bit, but he came back in a rush for 66 yards. 158 yards for C.J. Stroud on the flip side. Nick Chubb in his debut with the Texans, 60 yards. They just couldn't get it going on offense. Like, you give the defense for the Rams credit for kind of slowing them down. So, again, not pretty, but again, you take the result if you're Sean McVay and the Rams.
Yeah, it was the Rams defense that closed it out yesterday, forcing a turnover there. And on the flip side for Houston, as we said on on the show on Friday, I know I did specifically with their star running back Joe missing the first 4 weeks to start the year. Their running game was non-existent, and putting all that pressure on CJ Stroud, we saw at various points last year without his weapons that he looks like a below average quarterback. But give the Rams credit; their defense carried the day. Matthew Stafford did look good with that touchdown pass over 249 yards. 45 yards, excuse me, passing. Puka Nacua, who got hit in the side of the face to start the second half, he came back in the game, had 10 catches for 130 yards overall. And if the Rams keep playing like this, they will win the NFC West. I know some people had San Francisco, maybe some people had Arizona surprise team to challenge for that division. But if the Rams continue to play like this, like they did a year ago, they'll be awfully hard to beat.
Stafford did set an NFL record for the most career opening day starts. He now has 17. John Elway had that record for years, so he started all 16 seasons, being the opening day starter, and now he has that record. So, and also they won yesterday, so I'm sure that's even the icing on the cake for him. Now, the Sunday nighter, the Bills come back from 15 down to beat Baltimore 41-40. Matt Prater, 48-yard field goal that sealed that win for the Bills. He literally just came. He literally just came to Buffalo like that morning, yesterday morning. So because he's not the regular kicker. Josh Allen had 2 TDs, 394 yards. Lamar Jackson had 209 yards. Derrick Henry 169 yards and then 2 TDs, but a crucial fumble that would have sealed the game. James Cook had 44 rushing yards. Keon Coleman had 112 receiving yards and a TD. And would you look at that? They actually remember that he was on the team because they were sometimes at one point where they didn't know he was there. But yeah, just I'll go through the sacks real quick in a second. But what did you think about that game last night?
Baltimore dominated the first half. They actually dominated the first 3 quarters. The offensive line played well. And Lamar Jackson was doing his thing. Derrick Henry, they got back to dominating and running the football. Buffalo's defensive front, they got shellacked there. And you thought, Buffalo and Baltimore's defense was very aggressive. Their secondary, as we talked about during the preseason, is very good. I know Collinsworth gave him props on the broadcast last night, but not to blame everything on this young man, but Derrick Henry's fumble left the door open for Buffalo to take back momentum. That's exactly what happened. And I agree with Anthony Booker McFarland, who was on SportsCenter immediately after the game last night. Your big time players must respond in big time situations, and Derrick Henry's fumble opened up the door for Buffalo to have that comeback complete, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, 28-yard field goal for that one. I was thinking about the one Prater had earlier. But check out this. That's it. The Ravens have now lost 8 games since the 2021 season, which they led at one point. Had a 90% probability. I think they had a 99% probability of this game yesterday. That's 3 more than the next closest team. So, it's one of those things where you're just like, you kind of left scratching your head. And we'll get to it in our studs and duds in a minute here, in a second here, I should say. But yeah, that you can say that was just as much. Look, I agree with Booker. I agree with him a lot of times. There's another time where I agree with him that I think the Ravens lost this game just as much, if not more, than the Bills won that game. Now, you do give the Bills credit for coming back. The defense made they poked that ball loose from Henry, but you're a veteran. He should know better to hang on to that ball. So that was just a nice win by them, but like an ugly loss by the Ravens. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite them in the butt, especially when it comes down to like tiebreakers and such, but we'll see.
Yeah. If you're Baltimore, which Buffalo loss hurts more? Last year's playoffs or what happened last night?
Probably last night, I think.
All right, let's
Probably
get to our
last night
studs
more
and
than
duds. Yeah, okay. Let's get to our studs quickly. We have Dionne Miller will be coming up to start off hour number 2. LaKeena, first your 3 studs.
Mr. Justin Herbert, of course, we talked about it with the stats from that game on Friday. He also gave me 28 points on my fantasy team in the opener. So yay for that. Also, Aaron Rodgers showing that he's still got a little bit left in the tank for TD passes. And I'll say the Buffalo Bills for not giving up. I mean, they could have, ran away high, but they came back and won it.
All right, my 3 stats quickly. Daniel Jones of the Indianapolis Colts, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, and even though he was part of the losing effort, Zay Flowers, even though he did the patch and wave to the crowd early, and the Baltimore Ravens did the MVP chance from Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers of Baltimore, 7 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown.
Real quick, my duds. I'll keep it short and sweet. Miami. The Onyanhu coup, who I love, but yeah, that was a bad kick by you. You pushed it left. And Baltimore, enough said.
Yeah, I agree with you with those two duds, and I'll give the Detroit Lions as my 3rd dud.
All right, we're going to go really quick break. Of course, we got Miss Dionne Milford, ABC 7 Chicago, and ESPN Chicago to preview Vikings Bears tonight, and maybe a little bit of Chicago stuff, time permitting, but we'll get to that and a whole lot more. LaKeena, McGee, City Battle, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Hour 2 kick off with Dionne Miller coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the Monday edition of the program. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again the IG.
It's time for our preview of tonight's Monday Night Football season opener between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. To help us preview that contest is Miss Dionne Miller from APC7 in Chicago. If you have any questions or comments for her in our preview, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Let's not waste any more time. So let's welcome her, our girl. She's the wonderful sports anchor report for ABC7 Chicago and ESPN Chicago host. The one, the only, the fabulous Miss Dionne Miller. Dionne.
Hey!
Well, officially my day is made. I don't know that I've ever been welcomed with such enthusiasm, but appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for having me on today. What a big day. Like, I can feel the energy. It's time. Yesterday was fun. Sunday was fun to watch, but now it's the Bears' turn and they get the spotlight all to themselves. And I cannot wait to see what they look like with this new head coach and this whole new coaching staff and what the season might start to take shape and look like in the end.
Expand on that a little bit, because what are your kind of like synopsis or expectations for the Bears this year?
You know, I was thinking about this because, you know, it's the Bears have been through a lot of different head coach searches over the last, decade, right? I mean, I think I've been in town about a dozen years and Ben Johnson is my sixth different head coach. And what's been different about this particular moment is every coaching cycle has that it guy, right? It's just rare that the Bears land the it guy, and not just that, but that he only wanted to come to the Bears. I think that is really an indication of him understanding what he's walking into, understanding what he can do here, but also recognizing the hard work that goes into it. I think that's what we learned listening to him throughout preseason and training camp. Like, he recognizes that they had to strip this down to rebuild it. They had to start again, essentially, with Caleb Williams, had to help him unlearn what he learned last year as far as that playbook, and now embrace this massive playbook that Ben Johnson has, and then slow things down for him, work on fundamentals. I don't think we've said the word processing more than we have this preseason, but his processing, going from the huddle to behind center to reading a defense, like that, speeding that up and making that brainless for Caleb will help him open up the playbook the way Ben Johnson eventually wants to. But the excitement is there because we know that Ben is a proven winner when it comes to offensive scheme. We've seen it. We saw it in Detroit while he was there. That's what he's bringing to the Bears eventually. But then also he surrounded himself with a rock star cast. We joke in the media, we are a coaching staff. We joke that it's a varsity coaching staff now, right? Like, we know these guys. Dennis Allen has been in football for 25 years. Like, he has a reputation for being aggressive, no nonsense, old school kind of coach. We know that. He brings in Al Harris to coach his parts of his defense. Antoine Randall is there, Eric Bieniemy. These are guys that are truth tellers in their own right. They are going to demand the details that Ben Johnson sets forth, and you see it, you hear it at practice. And that's what is so exciting about turning the page with this coaching staff, with this new head coach, and starting a new season, because we know it's an upgrade from where they left off back in January.
Speaking of turning the page tonight, Dionne, what did you think about the story that came out over the weekend? I thought it was very interesting, using air quotes there, about Caleb Williams, the way he did or didn't do under the previous head coaching regime last year. Do you think that he'll use this as motivation tonight, or just ignore it and go about taking care of business against the Vikings tonight?
I hope he just ignores it. Now, it was, I love how you said it was interesting. It was interesting. And I feel that the truth of what really went on behind the scenes during that disastrous rookie year is somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere between what we actually saw with our own eyes and what we learned over the weekend, or what we heard from a lot of former assistant coaches and sources and anonymous sources. It's a deep dive. I mean, it's 7,000 some words. I mean, it's a deep dive into the dysfunction. But at this point, I hope that Caleb puts it aside. We thought going into this game and coming out of it tomorrow, that book, remember that book that he's quoted in, that he had to defend that back in the spring, that comes out tomorrow. Now this article is coming along too. It feels like no matter what Caleb does, it's criticism. He's maybe unfairly criticized in a lot of ways, because we don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on inside that building. Now, was it dysfunctional? Yes. I mean, yes, we saw it. Like, not all of it was behind the scenes. A lot of it spilled out over onto the sidelines. Like, we saw some of the things that didn't go well, and we saw some of the things that were mishandled. So none of that is really new news. It just kind of backed it up in a different way, and painted a bad picture, not only for Caleb, but mostly for the general manager, who allegedly allowed all of this stuff to go on. My hope is that the page is turning, that this is about moving forward, right? Because if as long as that behavior doesn't continue, or we don't see evidence of it continuing or reports of it continuing, that there's a shift there, because what they described about how Caleb conducted himself behind the scenes is not what I envision Ben Johnson tolerating, or any of his coaching staff tolerating. Now, did they last year in some capacities? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's what it seems like, right? Mm-hmm. But I think moving forward is the right way. I hope he ignores it. I don't think it's a story, yes, but does it impact what's happening tonight with this new start in a new season? I don't think so. I think that it's something that will just be kind of once they kick off, and please, Lord, let's play a game. Once they kick off tonight, it will change that conversation, right? Like, let's go. I'm so sick of talking about when we get to the season, but once they kick off, once they get through tonight's game, I believe it will kind of fade into the rearview mirror. And I don't think it will be a topic unless we see evidence of it continuing, and reasons to point back to, like, this is what was established in his first year, and he can't change those habits unless we see evidence of that, which we have not. And I asked Cole Kmet, I don't want to give it away, but I sat down with Cole Kmet for our pregame show tonight, and I asked him, I said, is the criticism unfair? And he said, from anyone who's not in the building and doesn't know him, yes, it is unfair. And so I don't think that his teammates view him as this diva quarterback as it was presented in that article.
Yeah, I didn't even bother reading it, so 7,000 pages was too much. But let's talk about the defense for a second. What's the latest on Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon? We know, Gordon was a late addition to the report, over the weekend, and Johnson, turns out that he's going to deal with a growing issue all training camp. So, do you have any updates on whether or not either one of them will play tonight?
Well, I don't. The Kyler Gordon injury, a Sunday before the season opener, late add to the injury report, is very disturbing. Hamstrings are so tough, and he's been dealing with that a lot. Missed part of training camp because of it. Hasn't been able to stay on the field because of injuries like that. I'm nervous that his injury will keep him out. I'm not sure. I don't know. Jalen is going to try. I feel in my heart that Jalen's going to try. He wants to be out there. But he's also, this is that really bad groin injury. And then there's also a calf issue that's going on there. The portions we saw at practice was literally him stretching, going through those drills, and then maybe catching a couple of passes, just running through basic drills, nothing that looked like tackling, nothing that looked full speed, at least what we saw. Now, does that mean he's not ready for that? I don't know. Knowing him, he's going to want to do everything he can to be out on the field. I expect he'll be warming up probably within the next hour or so, just to see how he feels. It'll probably be like a last minute decision. I would feel uneasy going into this game without both of them. I would hope that one of them can at least start the game, and we'll see. And the way they added Kyler to the injury report yesterday, I feel like Jalen might have a better shot, just because it feels like Kyler was not feeling good yesterday, right? Like, we knew Jalen was going to be questionable, so maybe he'd push a little harder. I'm not sure. And what will happen if he's not able to go? Obviously, Nahshon Wright has done okay. He had a really good start to training camp and did pretty well in the first couple preseason games, but then kind of faded at the end. So we'll see if he gets an opportunity. And then I'm not sure how they shuffle things around with Gordon out. That will be interesting to watch too. Dennis Allen, he'll be like, well, next guy up, like, what is, we'll just move on. But we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting. That is a little bit unnerving, feeling like that part of the defense that we thought was going to be such a strength may be a little weaker to start the year.
Dionne Miller for ABC7 Chicago Sports is joining us right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena hanging out here with you. Preview tonight's Chicago Bears season over between the Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Dionne, let's go back to the offense. You talked about Caleb earlier. He has a whole a bunch of new weapons. Talk to us about these two players that hopefully you expect good things from this year. That's rookie tight end Colston Loveland and second-year wide receiver Roma Dunze.
Yeah, expecting big things from both of them. Rome and Caleb have had a connection since the moment they got to Hallis Hall. We know that. But this training camp and preseason, I felt like he found Rome in like tiny windows that he didn't last year. And I think in the end, he will be the Bears' leading receiver this year. I truly believe that. I think they're going to use DJ Moore in different ways, that he might be on the field more, doing different things than just specifically being a wide receiver. I think Rome is going to be that guy, that go-to guy that he leans on. And don't discredit the connection he built with Olamide Zaccheaus too. So there's a lot that changed as far as like his receiving core and like who he'd reach out to, but they expect big things from Rome. He feels like he's ready for a big season and ready to really build on what he did last year. And he looks stronger, and he's excited and ready to go. And I think that will be impressive how quickly those two kind of get the offense going. I think that will be where it starts. Now, as far as Colston Loveland, wow, he moves like a receiver. He plays like a tight end. He's very versatile. It's easy to see why he was a first-round pick and why the Bears went that direction. Interesting though, like when the Bears drafted him, I felt like a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute, they already have a tight end, right? Like everyone loves Cole Kmet, and they do, but they are different. And with what Ben Johnson likes to run in his 12 personnel, he likes to have two tight ends on the field. So how he'll use them, I think will allow him to be creative. Will we see a lot of that maybe tonight? Not sure. I think they're going to probably ease into the season. But I think that Colston Loveland in the end will be a difference maker and an impact player in this offense. And I think that's why they drafted him, because they knew that he could be.
What about that pass rush, Dionne? I know I've heard you say that that's still a little bit of a concern for you. I mean, they brought on Grady Jarrett, but he's not really an edge rusher. Dexter, he kind of versatile that way. So what do you think? Are you still concerned about that edge rushing?
A little bit. Montez Sweat needs to have a Montez Sweat kind of year, right? Like he needs to perform in a way that he didn't last year, worth the contract, that the amount of money that they've invested in him. And they can move him around because he is versatile, but you need someone to complement that, or offenses are going to key on him, and he's not going to be able to do what he wants to do to disrupt the opposing quarterback. So Grady Jarrett, I think if he can stay healthy, can have an impact up front. Having Andrew Billings there from the start is a big deal. That is a massive human being. Okay, so that's a very big deal. Gervon Dexter's ready to take another step. We don't know what Dayo Odengbo is going to be, and how they're able to bring out more in him that they wanted to. That's why they wanted to have him, and they felt like he was worth the investment. So we'll see. I don't think it's as strong as it could be. It'll be something to watch. Could Dennis Allen scheme up something to disrupt JJ McCarthy making his first NFL start in his hometown when emotions will be everywhere? Yeah, I think he could. And there's a lot of unknown. There's going to be a lot of unscouted looks tonight because they just don't know what McCarthy's going to be or how he's going to operate in this moment. They'll have to learn on the fly, but the key is adjusting. And I trust Dennis Allen to have them ready to do that up front. How it moves forward from there, I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure. We'll see. It's the same way I feel about left tackle, right? Like I don't think they were super excited to say Braxton Jones is the starting left tackle, but he's the best of what they have now. So we'll see. And Ben Johnson keeps pointing to the bye week. We'll evaluate at the bye week. So let's trust them for that. Let's see if they truly do evaluate then and see if they have something better than they thought, or if they need to start moving and adjusting and looking elsewhere.
Speaking of adjusting, let's focus in on that running back room. Of course, DeAndre Swift will be starting for the Bears again this year. I think he's on the second year in that 3-year contract. Of course, Ben Johnson coached him in Detroit a few years ago. Of course, you have Roschon Johnson and you have Kyle Monangai, who the Bears coaches said they've been in love with since the day they drafted him through minicamp to training camp and now. What do you expect from this running game from the Bears this year? Do you think DeAndre Swift would get the majority of the carries, or will we see that thunder and lightning like we see in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs? Will it be Monangai and Swift, or Roshan Johnson can sneak in the mix? What do you expect from the Bears running game this season?
Well, I think it is DeAndre Swift. He's highly motivated to have a better year, and he trusts Ben Johnson. They have that previous relationship. Roshan Johnson has not been on the field since early August, since that the toughest training camp practice they've ever had ever. I think it was like August 3rd or 4th or 5th or something like that. He talked after that. We haven't seen him since. So I don't know what that injury is or how he'll be healthy enough to be involved. Kyle Monangai, I have enjoyed watching him practice. Talk about somebody who just does his business. Like, he is not out there trying to be super flashy or something. He's not. He just does exactly what he is told, and he doesn't fumble the ball. Like, he didn't have a fumble in college. That is outrageous to me. And he takes care of the football. That's the number one thing when you're a running back. I think they can use him in a lot of ways. He'll have an impact on special teams as well as he kind of gets his footing. I don't think it's going to be quite like Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I don't think it's going to be quite like that. I think that we're going to have to wait to see how Ben uses them and adjust to the personnel that he has. It was interesting earlier in camp. Do you guys remember this? He said that they know that they're maybe not the most talented running back room. And then, or they're criticized for not being the most talented running back room. And DeAndre Swift was like, I've never heard that. I've never heard that, but that's good, right? Like, that's good. Like, they don't think that they are functioning at a deficit. It was alarming the last couple of weeks of training camp when you would look out there and it would be literally DeAndre Swift and Eric Bieniemy, or one or two, and then they throw in a Britton Brown, who they may activate tonight because of not having Roshan Johnson. So we'll see. But Kyle Monangai was full go at practice on Saturday, so we expect to see him make his debut tonight. And hopefully they can start building a running game that threatens people, that keeps defenses guessing, that allows Ben Johnson to do some of the things that he loves to do in his offense, that is predicated on a solid run game. Like, that's where it starts for him. So let's see if that happens. They upgraded the interior of that offensive line to do just that, right? To open holes for the running game and to protect Caleb and allow him time to make those decisions at the line of scrimmage. So let's see that start to unfold. And game one or not, I want that to look better tonight. I want that to look better.
Last moment or two with ABC 7 Chicago and ESPN Chicago's Dionne Miller here on Second City Sports. On Sports of Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, Steve Brown with you. Last question from me, Dionne. A non-Bears question, real quick. But the Cubs, just, they how do you feel about the Cubs at this point? I mean, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals of all teams, and they're 7.5 back of the Brewers. Do you think they make the playoffs?
I do, but then to what end, right? Like, okay, I think they make the playoffs. Do they make some big World Series run? I don't think so. I mean, here's what I get confused about. Okay, so why not just put Kyle Tucker on IR? Like, why not just do that? Why didn't they do that when he had the broken bone? Why did they allow him to push through? Is it because they don't want to make him mad? Well, I mean, if he's not going to be Kyle Tucker, like, what? Why are we not just putting him on IR? Same with this latest injury. Like, his calf feels better, but not good enough to be in the lineup. Okay, well, Owen Casey is here. Like, let's let him get in the lineup and do what he's going to do. And then just the pitching hasn't looked as consistent as we wanted to, the bullpen especially. And I'm just not it was such a bummer of a weekend because you felt like, okay, this is an opportunity for them, right? It's the Nationals of all teams. Like, they can win these games. And then, like, Saturday, 1 run. I mean, it was just kind of like yawn. What wasting a Matthew Boyd quality start again. It's just disappointing that the strong start of the season has not continued. And it feels like maybe they're not, speaking of behind the scenes stuff, maybe they're not, but it just feels like, well, ho hum, here we are, and resting on this like wild card berth that they're going to have, which I think that they will. But you just like to see a little bit more fire in September. You'd like to see a little bit more of that pushing, like determination, dare I say, playing a little more like the White Sox are, right? Like finding some momentum, feeling like you're playing well in September. Like, I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud, but like they've won 7 of 8. They just beat Detroit. Like, it's like they're playing with some sort of an urgency that the quote unquote playoff bound Cubs aren't playing with. And I don't understand all of that. So it's disappointing. But I mean, I think they do make the wild card, but I don't think they have enough to beat the likes of the Dodgers and to make a really deep run for the NL.
Thank you, Dionne, for the shout out for my White Sox. That's going to be my last question. I'm a White Sox fan. I'll actually be at the game tomorrow. But
awesome.
Talk to us about Colston Loveland. Do you think he'll win American League Rookie of the Year? Will Venable, their manager, has done a great job motivating these guys, and they're actually playing for him. What do you think about Colston Montgomery? And do you think the White Sox, they're not going to be on the level of the Dodgers or the Mets this offseason, but I think they have to spend some money and get some key veterans in here if they're going to make a next jump for next season. What are your thoughts about the White Sox and the Southside Hitmen going forward?
Colston Montgomery is a delight. I am so impressed with what he has done. And I think mostly because at his young age, in his first season, he has found a way to navigate the good and the bad. Even some tweaks here and there with his body physically and all of that. And for him to maintain his power at the plate. And he's not maybe that boisterous face of the team kind of guy, but he doesn't have to be. Like like Kyle Tucker isn't that guy either, but he can hit, right? So he's going to be the guy that everybody looks at. Colston Montgomery can be that guy. And he should definitely be in the conversation. What he's done is nothing short of impressive. It's been one of the best stories in baseball in our city this season. So he definitely deserves that. And they do need to bring in some veterans, but can't we give some credit to these young guys? I want to say there are at least 10 who were called up and made their debuts. I think it was 10. And for them to, at that young age, look at each other and say, let's finish this year different. Let's not lose 100 games. How about we use this month of September to feel like we're heading into next year more confident and that we can make next year different. And I think that says a lot about Will Venable, but it also says just a lot about the type of player that they brought in, that youth. It'd be nice to have some veterans around them to continue to foster that, but they have that in themselves. And I think that's really worth noting as they wrap up this season and they take responsibility for being better and stay committed to being better. And I think that they can use this as a launch point for when they come back in the spring and demand it to look better all the way through and not just at the end of the year.
I think they can win I think they need only like 10 more games before to avoid the 100 loss mark, which I think the way they're playing, I think they can do that. So
I do too.
Definitely things looking up for the White Sox. Dionne, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're super busy, so thank you again for spending these few minutes with us. So where we can find you and what you got coming up with Ryan at the pregame tonight.
Oh, we're so excited about our pregame show tonight. Kicks off at 6:30 on ABC7. I do sit down with Cole Komet and with head coach Ben Johnson. So that will be super fun. Spice Adams is going to join our postgame show after the game. So he'll have plenty of fun things to say. We know he's so entertaining. So that'll be a good time. And we're just excited to get this Bears season going and cover the Bears. We have a number of games on ABC7. And so that gives us kind of a chance to do these longer interviews and get to know guys, especially the head coach, the quarterback, stuff like that. So that's what we have coming up tonight. And then again, in a couple of weeks when they're in Washington, I head to Vegas with the radio station to cover the game against the Raiders. So a lot of fun now that it's football season. A lot of great things are ahead. I am embarrassingly easy to find on the socials. Just search my name and it'll pop up. But I would love it if people follow along and keep cheering for our teams. And I will say this, it's always better in our city when everyone's winning. So that's what I cheer for every day.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dionne, for joining us.
bet.
As LaKeena said, we know you have a busy schedule. And I told LaKeena when you were coming on our show today, don't take this the wrong way, but the last time we had you on our show, which was 3 years ago, Zach LaVine, the Bulls were in the playoffs. They were getting beat by the Milwaukee Bucks. We know that you're super busy, but we would like to use this interview as a good luck charm for the Bears this year. Forget the Bulls. We like to use this interview as a good luck charm for the Bears to get into the playoffs this year.
I love that. And do not let it be 3 years again. Do not let, that's embarrassing that it's been that long. You two.
Oh, me? Okay, yes. Sorry.
You two are the real ones. You guys have been around. You've been so kind to me my whole career here in Chicago. So do not let 3 years go by before we do this again.
Yeah, you hear that, Sid? Oh, yeah, me too. I follow her on Instagram too. So
we definitely won't. We definitely won't. Let's always say, Dionne, from the old show I used to work with the old D and David show on the ChicagolandSportsRadio.com days, of course, working with LaKeena on this show. Yeah, you definitely been definitely a big help to us. Your presence is just nothing but top A+ notch, and we're definitely definitely gonna have to do this again soon. Hopefully, when the Bears make the playoffs.
Yes, let's count on that. Let's count on that. Thanks so much, you guys. You have a great day.
Yes.
You too. Have a great call tonight.
You too.
Dionne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right, that was Miss Dionne Moore from ABC 7 Chicago and ESPN Chicago. Sid, always love having her on. That's why she's one of our favorites.
Yes,
but,
Peggy and Dionne every Saturday morning from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN Chicago, the ESPN app, and they have their own YouTube channel. Search it.
Yes, absolutely. And also, you can catch her and Ryan Cheverini for the pregame show tonight at 6:30 on ABC 7 Chicago. Of course, if you got the ABC 7 Chicago app, you can do it there as well. And also, if you have a smart a Samsung device, you can watch it through there too.
I'll definitely be doing that tonight.
All right, so we gotta take a quick break, Sid, and well, you do the out because you haven't done it today, so you do the out.
Oh, we got to talk about the Chicago Cubs limping into the playoffs. They may need a new closer. They lost 2 or 3 to the Nationals. Your boy was there on last Saturday. Oh, it was a lot of tension, a lot of silent faces. We'll get into that. The White Sox, we mentioned they won Saturday of their last 8. Can they avoid the 100-loss season for the 3rd year in a row? We'll get into college football. I told you the Fighting Illini will win. They dominated that ass in the Duke Blue Devils. And we'll have a special edition of Old School TV Monday honoring the 40th anniversary of the 85 Chicago Bears Super Bowl winning team. That has a whole lot more. You stick and stay right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're getting you set for the Bears and Vikings tonight on Monday Night Football. You can join us right now. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. Whenever she comes back, you can. In the meantime, in between time, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can follow Miss LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X at Keena McGee. Once again, at KEENAMCGEE. LaKeena's now back. Almost pulling a Bob Surratt on your boy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. My mom was talking to me. Sorry about that. Gotta talk to mom.
Shout out to mama.
Shout out to mom. But yeah. So where do you want to go first, Sid? Let's talk some baseball, and we'll do the good first with the White Sox. They win 2 out of 3 in Detroit against the Tigers, and we talked about with our girl Dionne just a few minutes ago. Lennon Sosa homered and had 3 RBIs in that rubber match, and the only game they didn't win was the Turi Skubal matchup, which we all kind of figured they were gonna lose that one. But look, it like I said, they only need to avoid. They only need like 10 of their last 22 games to avoid losing 100. So if they can avoid losing 100, that's a very successful season. If guys like Colson Montgomery, who I think will definitely be in the running for AL Rookie of the Year, and Sosa and Kyle Teal and Vargas and those guys, I think they can definitely be a nice little building block for. If I'm sure, I don't know how much of us say that will it be Ishmael that get a lot to say, or will it still be Ryan Sork that'll be pulling the strings? But I think they could definitely be ahead of schedule and be in the good part of this rebuild.
Yeah, speaking of this recent stretch first, we told you guys last Friday that they will lose the Tariq Skubal start. They finally got some run support once again in Shane Smith's start last Friday. I know he had an ugly collision with Kyle Teal, and both those guys look like they're going to be okay. Hopefully Shane Smith will make his next start on Thursday against Tampa Bay. But the Sox, you mentioned, they're scoring runs like nobody's business. They're doing it without Luis Robert Jr., who's done with the hamstring for the year. Miguel Vargas is out too. Maybe he'll return before season's end. But did you see that those 2 incredible catches by Will Robertson yesterday in left field?
I saw that one.
Woo!
Yeah,
Especially that one in the 6th inning. As I said on my Twitter X machine yesterday, I said late great Ed Farmer would say, hang a star on that one. I'm talking about the catch he made in the 6th inning.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, I forgot who hit that ball. I think that was Riley Green, and he was not happy after Robertson caught that ball from it was like right out the thing. Where if he got timed that just right though, because if he had timed, if Robertson had timed it like just a second off, that would have been a home run, and who knows how the game would have been by then. Because I think the Tigers were up and they would have extended their lead had that Robinson not catch that ball. So, but a nice one, like I said, a nice win for the White Sox. They play Tampa starting tomorrow. Look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Your starters, Gomez versus Hauser. They have not announced who will be starting Wednesday's game, but they will face Pepiot and Shane Smith. They got him on here, so we'll see if that changes. But he faces Seymour on that rare match on Thursday, if he is going to pitch Thursday.
I think the Sox can get one game from Tampa in this series. I know Tampa technically is still in the AL wildcard race. I know they've been up and down recently, but as far as the Sox are concerned, as Dionne said in our last segment from ABC7, if they could just play well, use this as motivation going into next year, this will give this team and this organization a huge confidence. And the only problems that I do have with the Sox team, LaKeena, and it popped up a couple of times in this road trip, and I'll reference last Saturday's loss at Detroit in that Tariq Skubal start. Brooks Baldwin, I think he's a backup player in MLB, but I don't know if you saw the play he did in left field where he had that error. He overran the ball and let 2 runners score. That still bothers me, LaKeena. I know this is a young squad and all that, but you're taught in Little League ball, you're taught in high school and college, like you just don't do silly stuff like that, make silly mistakes like that. It just can't happen. We get it that this season was about go through some growing pains, find out who's going to be on this roster and not going forward. But stuff like that happened last Saturday, you just cannot let that continue. The Sox have to shore up their defense, and like I said, we'll get more deeper into it as in seasons in. But yeah, you got to have some key veterans, especially on that starting staff, and maybe a first baseman for sure, maybe a veteran outfielder. Like I said, we'll get into more deeper as the season concludes. But this defense must be a priority this offseason.
Yeah, definitely, and get a couple of those veteran guys that Dionne was talking about earlier. So we'll see. We'll see the Sox can keep up the trend here, winning 5 of their last 6. So hopefully they can keep the trend continuing. On the flip side, though, for the Cubs, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals. Wasted. I said this before. I actually changed my mind. I said yesterday's loss was bad. The Saturday start was just as bad, if not worse, because Boyd had another quality start, and you wasted that. And the Kyle Tucker thing is just I don't know. Just put it like Dionne said. Just put him on the IL. Just put him on the IL, please. You'll be better off. Do it for a couple of weeks. See if you can come back for that stretch run and see what happens. But yeah, that was they shouldn't look. The Nationals. I know the Nationals have been playing a little bit better, but there's no reason why they should have lost that series to the Nationals. They shouldn't have.
As I mentioned before the break, yours truly was there last Saturday for information purposes only. I was wearing my Steven Strasburg jersey for note whether you like it or not. Not you, LaKeena, but for those of you trolling out there. Going to that Saturday start with Matthew Boyd, the Cubs did not deserve his fate. They pitched him into the 7th inning, which he was in control. He was in control, but I know that Pete Crow Armstrong, aka PCA, he got hit. Got hit in his right knee. He had to exit the game, which is still bad, but they still had their chances in the 9th inning. LaKeena, and we talked about it before on the show. You can't you can get runners on, but if you're not hitting the home runs, they did this early in the year, but they haven't done it consistently lately, especially since the All-Star break. You got to move guys over, hit and run, squeeze bunt, steal bases, which they were doing consistently in the first half of the year. They haven't been doing that consistently lately, and so and the lack of aggressiveness definitely in Saturday's game cost them. And that's we talked about on Friday's show, and you saw in the only victory in that series last Friday. Dansby Swanson hit a home run. He has 22 home runs on the year. Nico Hoerner is starting to drive the ball. Carson Kelly started to play well, and so but the lack of aggressiveness on offense, that's what cost them Saturday. And yesterday it was just a complete meltdown, and it just can't happen, especially at this time of the year. I want to ask you this quick question. Assuming that the Cubs make the playoffs, which I think they will as a wild card, I think any Cubs fans that they thought that they could maybe make a dent with the Milwaukee Brewers, this series said no. So you can kiss Milwaukee goodbye. We said it a few weeks ago. You can kiss that division goodbye. I think the series loss against Washington basically sealed that fate. I want to ask you this question, LaKeena. In a couple of weeks, Game 1 of the wild card series, I think it's going to be held here in Chicago. The Cubs hang on to the number 1 wild card spot. Who's your Game 1 starter? Shota Imanaga or Kate Horton?
Yeah, I think it depends on who they play. If they do end up playing, we'll just say San Diego. I think we definitely have to get Shota in there. Now,
you start Game 1.
Yeah, that's I would, yeah. But again, Boyd. Again, I would definitely put Boyd in there too, especially if he can keep it up, through the rest of the next couple of weeks of the season. I think he's probably going to be the number 1 starter for me. So really, just going to depend on how everything goes and who they play. I believe if they play, like I said, they play San Diego, maybe I can see that. If they play the Mets, they can play the Mets. All you need is 1 game. I would say, take your chances with Boyd. So. Or maybe if you want, like I said, it's all just depending on at this point, like these last couple of weeks. If they can, whoever shines in the last couple of weeks of the season, especially if the Cubs can take that number 1 wild card spot, because you get that number 1 wild card spot, you get to host that wild card game at home. So I think you pick any 3 of those folks. So it's really just going to depend on how they finish the season these next couple of weeks.
Remember the wild card series, all 3 games are hosted by the whole team, and it's the best 2 out of 3. So you say you will start Matthew Boyd if he's hot. Going in Game 1. I just want to make sure. And hopefully, if you're the Cubs, you definitely do not want to play 3 games in a wild card series. You just don't. So get it out the way, whoever you play. Like I said, Cade Horton's been pitching well as a rookie. Like I said, Matthew Boyd, the last 2 games I attended up there, he lost that one to Baltimore thanks to that bullpen. And then, of course, last Saturday, he did not deserve that fate because the office did not back him up. Matthew Boyd, be honest with you, LaKeena, he should have at least 16 wins right now.
He should be up there for,
and it's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, he should be up there with for the NL. I don't know if he would have gotten the NL sign had he had 50 seasons with me. I think he definitely would have been in the conversation. So they really have they really have, like, if you're a boy, you're probably scratch your head thinking like he's too nice of a guy. He won't say it out loud, but you gotta scratch your head thinking like, what the heck's going on? What more do I have to do here? But going into the starters for starting today against Atlanta, you got Shota versus Elder. Should we go in here tomorrow? I got Cade Horton versus Spencer Strider. That should be a fun one. And you got Javier Assad versus Chris Sale in the rubber match on Wednesday. So the Cubs should win 2 out of 3, but again, at this point, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. So
real quickly, real quick before we move on, your closest situation, Daniel Palencia.
Yeah,
blew it yesterday. I think he's injured now. If that's the case,
it's his shoulder apparently.
Yeah, exactly. If that's the case, who's your next closer? Is it Drew Pomeranz? Is it Kitteridge that they picked up at the trade deadline? Is it Brad Keller? Who's your closer?
I don't think they have one at this point, to be honest.
You got to pick somebody, though. And Craig Counsell has to pick somebody.
Well, I'll take Keller, I guess, since he's actually been. But shout out to the Cubs for their Hall of Fame. It was great seeing Derek Lee. It looked like he could still play. I think. Yesterday, of course, they also honored Sammy Sosa as well. So it was nice to see, even though they ended up losing that game in the series to the National. But it was great to see everybody there. I saw Ramos Ramirez. He was out there as well. So yeah, can any of those guys still play? But again, like that.
Oh, speaking of, like I said, I didn't see him personally, but they showed him on the scoreboard on Saturday. Your guy Ted Lilly was there.
I know. I saw him. He looked pretty good. Yeah, I think he's still in good shape. So, well,
at least he's not throwing his glove down on the mound like a little boy.
like he did in Arizona years ago during that wild card series. Yes. It's good to see you.
Speaking of, as we move on quickly to wrap up the weekend in baseball. Speaking of throwing things at things, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he was 1 out away from a no-hitter. But Jackson Holiday said, hell no, hit a solo home run to cut the lead last Saturday to 3-1 as Baltimore trailed by 2. As I was watching some other stuff, I turned back 10 minutes later. I saw that Baltimore won the game. What a cruel fate this game called baseball can be. Yamamoto was pitching as had his highest pitch count ever in his second year in the major leagues. Jackson Holiday kicked it off with a solo home run. I'm like, okay, the Dodgers will get the next out. Dave Roberts trusted that bullpen. The bullpen let him down, and they lose to no hitter, then lose the game. Now, even though they won yesterday, they're now 78-64 in the year. But San Diego just cannot take over that damn division lead in the West. And the Dodgers, I think they still going to hang on. But if I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm not confident in my team going into the playoffs. I'm just not.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers should be lucky that they're still up 1, because I know the Padres, they took 2 out of 3 against Colorado. They should have swept that, but again, they got caught napping in that opener. But yeah, that was look. Baseball is weird sometimes, right? I know Jackson. Look, we saw his dad Matt do that a few times back in the day. So feel old at this point, but yeah, that was a really the Dodgers. I mean, they needed that win yesterday, and they're still up 1. I mean, it'll all just depend on they don't play anymore this year, so it's really just going to depend on the score we're watching. But yeah, I would not feel good if you're the Dodgers. Like you better hope that they get it going here. They got the Rockies tonight, so they better sweep. It's basically sweep or bust for them, and they do get San Francisco. I think twice after that. That, and I think they can play Philly in between. So they really need to try to see if they can pull a bit of a cushion and take advantage of the fact that San Diego has not been very good, inconsistent themselves.
Yeah. We'll go through a couple of these other teams quickly before we move on to college football. Your Seattle Mariners, things are getting kind of tight for that third AL wildcard spot, but they're still in striking distance for the AL West lead behind the Trash Throws, as Sean Sierra will call them on this show, on this network. But the Mariners take care of the Braves yesterday by the score of 18-2. Cal Raleigh now 52 home runs on the year.
Yeah, I think the first guy to do that for Seattle since Ken Griffey Jr. when he was with Seattle. So definitely submitting his spot for the AL MVP honors. Houston, I know that they've kind of been up and down. They lost their series to Texas. Excuse me. So that's why they're now only 2.5 up now in Seattle. So it's going to get a little bit interesting in that NL West. And real quick, the Yankees have been playing pretty well too lately themselves. They're only 2 out, 2. I mean, they win 2 out of 3 against Toronto. So things get a little bit tight in that AL East.
I think you can say goodbye to Boston's chances of winning that division. I still believe they'll get one of those 3 wild card spots. The Yankees, I still believe they have an outside shot, but I think that's Toronto's division to lose. So, and like you say, it was important for the Yankees to do that as they continue to gain more confidence. But I think Toronto will hold on to win the AL East. Now, the NL East is very interesting. The Philadelphia, they struggle against the Marlins this weekend. I'm not going to get into that Karen fan. I don't know if you saw it, LaKeena, on social media.
I did.
The hell, like I'll say it like this, the hell with her. Shout out to that father of that young man. The Miami Marlins organization saw what happened. They gave the young man some prizes, including the free baseball. He didn't have to pay for it. Shout out to the Miami Marlins organization. Thumbs up on that. Now, on the field, Zach Wheeler's injury is going to hurt them, especially come playoff time. Aaron Nolan has to get his what together. And we'll see what they get from Walker Buehler. We said this last week as they signed them a week ago at the Boston Red Sox released them. But the New York Mets, they struggled too, losing their series over the weekend to the Cincinnati Reds. Now, I think the Reds are running out of time, but the New York Mets are really starting to shoot themselves in the foot, and it's not good.
Yeah, we'll see because they got their series against Philadelphia starting tonight. That first game will be on MLB Network as we talk about the schedule for this week. Of course, the Cubs face the Braves. Then you got speaking of the Marlins, they host the Nationals. Cleveland hosts Kansas City. The Angels meet the Twins. Texas hosts the Brewers. Cincinnati they continue their West Coast trip against San Diego. Seattle hosts the Cardinals. Arizona and San Francisco. San Francisco still have a shot at that one of those wild card spots. For that first game will be on FS1. Boston and the Oakland A's of San Diego, Sacramento, whatever the heck they're calling themselves now. And like I said, the Dodgers, Colorado at Dodger Stadium. This will be their time for the Dodgers to try to pull a little bit of distance between themselves and the Padres in the NL West.
Yeah, the Colorado Rockies are what the doctor ordered. Let's see if the Dodgers can take advantage of it, because last time they played a few weeks ago, Colorado got in on that what at Coors Field. So usually the Dodgers dominate the Rockies at home, so hopefully it'll be the same results this go around. Other series that will start tomorrow, of course. Tampa Bay will visit Chicago to take on the White Sox. Pittsburgh will battle Baltimore. The rematch of the 79 World Series, if my memory serves. RIP Dave Parker on that. Let's see. The Mets and the Phillies. Yes, the Mets and the Phillies tomorrow, both important series for both these teams. Detroit and the Yankees will do battle starting tomorrow in the Bronx. That first game can be seen on TBS at 6:05 p.m. Houston will take a visit to Toronto, north of the border. And the Reds and the Padres will start tomorrow. And I believe that's it for the series that will be starting this week. Oh, and one more programming note. Fox Saturday Baseball will not be seen this week. It will be seen on Thursday. Most of the country will get Mets and Phillies, while others will get Kansas City at Cleveland. Fox Saturday Baseball will be on this week on Thursday. Coverage will start at 6:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, only on Fox.
And also that second game with the third game, I should say, between Detroit and the Yankees will be on Prime Video as well. 6:05 will be through the Yankees broadcast, and that's your schedule for this week in MLB.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena hanging out here with you on the Monday Extravaganza edition. Let's turn to college football. not too many. We had a couple of competitive games, but the results from the big top 10 teams we expected those blowout scores, and that's exactly what happened. We'll start out locally first with the Find Atlanta. As I said on the show last Friday, LaKeena, as we were previewing some of the big time games, the Duke Blue Devils were favored by 2 points at home. I told you the Illini will win by 6. Look what happened. The Illini whipped that ass 49-15. Yay! And I loved every second of it. Luke Allmeyer, 3 touchdown passes, no turnovers.
Yeah, they were able to take advantage of 4 turnovers by Duke. So good on them. I don't know. I guess Vegas thought they knew something that they didn't. But look, I know some Illini fans, some Illinois fans are saying that, well, look, let's take them seriously. Look, you play Indiana in a couple of weeks, which now we just found out will be in prime time on NBC. So you'll get a chance to people get a chance to see both Illinois and Indiana. We'll get to Indiana in a second here. But yeah, look, a nice showing by Illinois. Look, just don't get caught looking ahead to the Indiana game in a couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, really great showing. Again, guys took care of business. Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Miami. Well, a lot of these games were almost affected by weather. There was a lot of weather delays all over the place. So yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, not too many major upsets. Really, the only major upset, well, there were a couple. Mississippi State, they beat Arizona State 24-20. And this is a Mississippi State team that won only 3 games last year. And South Florida continued their upsetting Boise State a couple weeks ago. Now they upset Florida. It looks like Mr. Billy Napier might be getting his Pink Bentley card down there in Gainesville, but really, that's about it. I mean, Alabama had a nice bounce back, 73-0 over UL Monroe. Ole Miss beat Kentucky. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, that's about it. I know Northwestern lost their running back for the year, so that's a big loss for Northwestern. Yeah, that's basically about.
Even though
they
beat Western Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though they beat Western Illinois in their home opener, the last of the home opener in the Lake Stadium, 42-7. You mentioned Cam Porter for Northwestern, 12 carries for 91 yards in a score. Mr. Preston Stone for the Wildcats, 21-29, 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. So we talk about Northwestern. If they win 6 games, they'll qualify for a bowl game, but they still have a long way to go, and we'll get into this on our next episode on Friday. But Fox College Kickoff will be coming to Evanston this week as the Northwestern Wildcats will host the Oregon Ducks in the early big noon Eastern time Saturday showdown. So, but like I said, we'll get into more of that on Friday. I want to talk about this game, LaKeena, as I'm trying to find the score. But did you check this trick play by Army? They upset Kansas State, the Wildcats on the road.
Yes,
they had an not your unconventional onside kick. It hit one of the up linemen for the Wildcats. Army recovers, then goes and scores. They put Kansas State on their heels, held on their last possession, and they won. I thought it was unbelievable. That was unbelievable.
This is actually the same Army team that lost to Tarleton a couple of weeks ago. So a nice talk about a bounce back win going to Manhattan in the Little Apple. That's they call it that. And beat Kansas State, and now they're 1-2. Yeah, that's just not a good loss for K-State, but a nice bounce back win for Army. And yeah, that was a really strange sequence there, but yeah, really nice win for Army, especially after bouncing back from that loss. So yeah, a nice win there. And also Maryland gets their revenge against Northern Illinois. You guys remember what happened a couple of years ago? They came in after a last-second field goal and beat Maryland. And, well, they remember that. So Maryland returned a favor, beating NIU 20-9 on Friday.
Yeah. I want to ask you about Arch Manning, LaKeena. Number 7, Texas, they dominated San Jose State as we thought that they would. 38-7, Arch Manning. 19-30 passing, 295 yards and 4 touchdown passes. I believe he ran in for a score as well. Is Arch Manning back? I think we can say yes after he threw up a dud at Ohio State last week. Can we get off of Arch Manning's back at least for now?
Yeah, I think I never understood that people, all these silly hot takes about, well, he's not as good as his uncles and blah, blah, blah. Look, the Sarks, unfortunately, and he admitted this too after that game, they didn't really do too much, for him. So luckily, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it who they're playing, but they were able to gain some confidence and hopefully this will be a start. And look, Texas is not out of the playoff chase yet, so and a lot could happen between now and the end of the season. I know San Jose State. I know this is not the same San Jose State that we saw in the last few years, but again, look, I think playing them, I think might be what he needed, and I think they needed that boost of confidence again to more and more into the season. Now going to Norman real quick, Oklahoma held off Michigan 24-13. John Mateer, 1 TD, 270 yards. He also has 74 rushing yards and a couple of TDs there as they held off Michigan. And don't look at now, but like Oklahoma could probably have something to say about what happens in the SEC. Just saying.
Yeah, we talked about Michigan being in transformation for Jim Harbaugh leaving for the NFL last year, so they're going through some growing pains right now. Oklahoma, they had some growing pains too the last couple of years, so maybe this will be their resurgence season. We'll find out as they play in the Big 12. They're in the SEC now. Sorry, it's in the SEC. We'll see what happens with them. Speaking of the Big 12. My guy Deion Sanders got back on track. Caught the end of this coming home from that Washington Cubs game. They beat Delaware as expected, 31-7. And Bill Belichick, or as we call him on this show, Bill Belichick, not as dominant as people expected, but they got their first win of the season. They beat the University of Charlotte, I believe it was the 49ers, 20-3.
Charlotte. Yeah, Charlotte 49ers. Yep.
LaKeena, I'm not saying North Carolina's good. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm not saying North Carolina. We don't know what to expect for them this year, but I guarantee this: Bill Belichick had them go through a rough practice last week to get ready for that game. They played like a above average college football team.
Yeah, I mean they look good.
Had to be embarrassed by TCU last week.
Yeah, I think same thing with Charlotte. I mean, look, this is not the same Charlotte team that you saw from a few years ago that probably would give them a run. But look, you took care of business against Charlotte. Okay, I think that's what you're supposed to do. So it's fine. Now, going back to Colorado, Prime might found his quarterback, Ryan Staub, had 157 yards and 2 TDs. They still, if you heard his comments afterwards, he loves playing for Coach Prime. You saw, how excited he was when he finally got the start and he made the best of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it was Delaware, the FCS, but again, look, you got to beat some of the little brothers before you can play the big brothers. So we'll see if maybe Sal will get another shot at it.
Yeah.
And I know that once they start Big 12 play, talking about Coach Prime, you may have to pick somebody. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's going to have to. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Big 12 action, Nebraska, we talked about this team with our guy Dave Remsen for the Big 10 Network a couple weeks ago. They dominated Akron 68-0. Dylan Raiola, a.k.a. The clone of Patrick Mahomes, 24-31 for 364 passing yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think Raiola could, again, if they can do well in the Big 10, if they can kind of pull off, some upsets here. They got a pretty tough Big 10 schedule. Now, we talked about, I know Dave said that it might be interesting to see what happens there. Now, they play Michigan in a couple of weeks, so that's going to be, kind of interesting at how that kind of shakes out. They also play, they don't have to play Illinois, but they do got to play USC and UCLA, and they got to play Penn State. So that might be a little bit of a they might be a little bit, but I think they could definitely win 8 or 9. I think so. We'll see what happens here now. Michigan State. Looks like they might have found their well, he's been around for a minute, so I'm not gonna say Aiden Childs. He had a last-second TD pass against Boston College in a thriller there in double overtime. So he had 4 TD passes. I think he had a rushing touchdown as well. So again, I think Michigan State. Excuse me, he's a transfer, so they might have found them quarterback. And Mizzou, they beat Kansas. They came back from, I think they were down like 13 points, and they came back to beat Kansas. I know our buddies Josh Fryman and Mike Berman from WGN and channel ABC5 respectively, because both from Mizzou grads, so they were very happy with that result last week against SAP Kansas and the old Big 8, Big 12 vibes there. So
like I said, Florida State takes care of East Texas A&M 77-3. Oh, the Iowa State, the battle of the state of Iowa. It goes to the Iowa State Cyclones. They defeated Iowa 16-13. And my guy PJ Fleck, LaKeena, they take care of of Northwestern State 66-0. So Minnesota also warming up as well as we talked about with the Reverend Dave Repson a couple of weeks ago. They're expected to take a step this year. I know they got into a bowl game last year, won it, but they got to take another big step this year. They want to be taken seriously in the Big Ten Conference.
It's going to be very interesting with Minnesota, especially with that. They got a pretty, they got a pretty tough schedule. They got to face Ohio State in a couple weeks, and then they also play Oregon as well. Now, the Oregon game, they both got to go on the road for those games, so that might be a little bit tough for them. But like I said, I could definitely win 8 games, I think, if everyone stays healthy. And like our buddy Alec Osmus from KSTP TV in Minnesota, I think he said that they might have found themselves a quarterback now. So Lindsey's been very, very solid for them, Drake Lindsey. So again, they got Grant Washington, who is probably one of the best running backs, I should say, in the country, had 126 rushing yards. So we'll see how they do against when they start Big Ten play.
Yeah, like I said, we'll give you our week 3 preview of the big time college football games on our next episode this coming Friday right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. You listen to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports program. Sid LaKeena here with you. Before we close it out with our special edition of Old School TV Monday, LaKeena, give us including yours truly that didn't get a chance to catch it live. Give us our final results from this year's U.S. Open.
We'll start with the ladies first, and Zabalenka wins the U.S. Open again. She beats Amanda Amisnova of the United States, of course. At least she didn't get her butts kicked this time. She got her revenge in the semifinals there. But Zabalenka was just too much. I believe this is her third. I think her third U.S. Open. I think her 5th Grand Slam. So she's looking really good. So I think that she's definitely becoming one of those. This is her 4th Grand Slam, I should say. This is she's definitely quickly become one of the top women's players in the world. She'll probably end up finishing up number 1. So congrats to her. And also, Carlos Alcaraz got the best of Yannick Sinner after. Well, he won first in the French Open. Sinner got his revenge in Wimbledon. Now Alcaraz guys look back at the U.S. Open. Just Sinner, he probably was 100% after his semifinal match, but Alcaraz jumped to that 6-2 lead, and then once he got that 6-1 in that third set, it was just all him after that. So it's his 4th Grand Slam. No, his 4th Grand Slam. Talking about Alcaraz, and we'll see what happens next year, because this is 6th Grand Slam, I should say, for Alcaraz, and I think Sinner already has 5 as well. This might be a new rivalry in tennis. So, it's going to be interesting to see what these two guys do down the line.
Yeah, like we said before, worrying about the Americans, we need the new faces especially for our American males tennis. But I think this will be a good rivalry here on the ladies' side with the Sabalenka. I'm not going to say she'll be the next Steffi Graf, but she's on her way. Like you said, this is her third major title in the last 4 or 5 years. And so I think she'll be the one that people are going to go after. Now she's that new standard. You got people like Madison Keys and of course Coco Gauff and others that should be making noise within the next couple years. So she's the standard right now. So let's see if anybody can have a healthy rivalry against her and see if they can take the crown from her on the ladies' side.
Going to be very interesting there on the ladies' side too, on both sides. So also shout out to Cliff Drysdale, who ended his career with ESPN. 46 years. He was there during the inception of the tennis coverage on ESPN. He finished with that Sinner semifinal, and he's in a career there. So congrats to him. And I grew up on him and Fred Stolly and the various partners he's had over the years, and still looks good for 79 years old. Good grief, and still very sharp and quick-witted. Just a really nice guy. So congrats to him on a great career. I know he's going to enjoy his retirement.
Yes, bless his heart. All right, this what we do on our show to close out the show every Monday, we close it out with Old School TV Monday. Now during the football season, not every week, once again, not every week, but during the football season, at various points during the football season, we'll pay our tribute to the 1985 Chicago Bears as the franchise celebrates their 40th anniversary of the 1985 team that brought home the World Championship for the first time since 1963. And today we will pay tribute, since they opened up the season against the Minnesota Vikings tonight, we'll pay tribute to the game that took place 40 years ago on September 19th, 1985, in a special edition of Monday Night Football. This game took place in the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome on Thursday, September 19th, back in 1985. The Bears beat the Minnesota Vikings 33-24. Remember, Jim McMahon was injured, wasn't supposed to play that game, but Steve Fuller started that game, struggled early. Of course, if you know the story, Jim McMahon spent the last couple of days at Lake Forest Hospital. Mike Ditka, who was the coach at the time, brought him on the trip. And of course, if you saw the America's Game edition honoring the 85 Bears on NFL Network from a decade ago, you know the story that Mike Ditka said that Jim McMahon was cussing him up down the sideline, trying, hey, you screwing this up, put me in. Finally, Mike Ditka put in Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon throws 3 third-quarter touchdowns, including 2 to Willie Gault, 1 to Willie Gault, the other 2 to Silky D. Dennis McKinnon, number 85, as the Bears cruise on to beat the Minnesota Vikings by the score of 33-24. LaKeena, I think this was the game that defined the Bears season, which started to define the Bears season. Minnesota, they were good at the time under the late great Bud Grant. Of course, with this game, they lost their first game of the year. They ended up 2-1 after that loss. But the Bears were developing something special. Obviously, you saw what happened the year before, losing to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, 23-0. But this game was in my opinion, started off with this team being confident and coming back from behind to defeat opponents. Of course, we all know about the defense, but the offense was something special and got some national attention on that night.
Yeah, as soon as he came on, I think McMahon, he passed that long pass to Willie Gault, and he ended up going for a touchdown. It was basically that kind of started the Minneapolis Miracle, as they call it, as a McMahon's Miracle, I should say they called it here in Chicago after he came in and kind of took the offense on his back and of course led the way for them. And there's this whole story about how McMahon kind of came into the game after Fuller was struggling. So I think I was in the bed by then. I think my mom made me go to bed. Whatever. Like I was only 3, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was like, and look, I think that game itself, I think it was on Thursday nights, remember, because it was a special Thursday night edition, because ABC, well, actually all networks had started their fall lineup. So that was kind of the start of that one. But yeah, but I think that kind of started the whole thing with the Bears, and that kind of turned their season around, if you will. And also on the flip side for the Vikings, they ended up going to 7-9, ended up losing, winning third in the old NFC Central. Remember that, Sid? It was
yes, the Norris division, as Chris Berman would call it.
Yes, exactly. So that kind of started their spiral for them. But yeah, it was like I said, it was going to be a great game and such. So who had the call of that game? It was the late great Frank Gifford and O.J. Simpson. Because remember, O.J. Simpson did Monday Night Football for a couple of years in the mid-'80s before, of course, a couple of years later. I think it was a year later that Al Michaels joined. We haven't even done Monday Night Football either as a serious role school team. Like we got to do that at some point, maybe perhaps this season. But yeah, I think this one over here. Look, the full game's on YouTube. So if you haven't watched the game or you want to rewatch it, the full game is on YouTube. So it's right there for
in HD too.
Yep. So yeah, just search Bears Vikings 1985 Monday Night Football. It's right there. The full game is right there with the commercials. So the week three matchup, not the second matchup, but the week 3 matchup. That's important to stick in there. But yeah, it ended up kind of being like when the Bears started there. Well, they were already 2-0 by then, but this kind of really started getting things to high gear there for their season.
And I'll close out with this fun fact, LaKeena. Speaking of their Willie Gault touchdown, that was the first touchdown pass that Jim McMahon threw when he came into the game. The only way that play got off, remember, the Minnesota was blitzing. I forgot who was number 52 for Minnesota. Walter Payton, may his soul rest in peace, came up and gave the biggest vicious block of all time. McMahon straightened up, looked down the field, threw the first 3 touchdown passes to Willie Gault. And the reason why they played God was because of that block of Walter Payton. That's what I will remember most about that game. So that's the signature play of that game. As I mentioned, McMahon saved the day for Chicago, beating the Vikings 33-24.
And like I said, of course, you can say the game's right there. It's on YouTube. So yeah, the full game. So make sure you guys search, like I said, search Bears Vikings, Week 3, 1985, and like I said, it is in HD. So you get to all the you hear all the all the hits and Frank Gifford, late great Frank Gifford's voice, and so it's all right there on YouTube. Watch for free.
Yes, so that's our this week's edition of Old School TV Monday. As periodically we'll salute the '85 Bears, celebrating their 40th season of the World Championship. All right, LaKeena, you ready for tonight? Hopefully, this will be an entertaining game. Hopefully, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, you can watch this year's Bears Vikings Week 1 matchup on ABC. Also on ESPN. It will also be on ESPN2. You'll be the Manning cast. And also
I think Bill Murray's supposed to appear on that one tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Who?
I think he's supposed to be on that one.
Who's supposed to be on that one tonight?
Bill Murray, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's him.
I gotta go to their Twitter account, their Omaha Productions Twitter account, real quick. I'll check that up real quick. But yeah, also you can catch it on the ESPN, their new app. So it's all right there. You'll have various ways you can watch it tonight.
And of course, check out our good friend, and for those of you in the Chicagoland area, I think you can watch it on our website too. Dionne Miller and Ryan Cheverine, they'll have your pregame show tonight at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC7. You can watch it, as you said, looking earlier on the ABC7 app. I believe you can watch it on their website as well, abc7chicago.com. And on your smart TV as well.
Yes. And also to Sid, yes, you were right. Bill Murray will be on the Manningcast tonight, along with Saquon Barkley, of course, after that great win for the Eagles on Thursday against Dallas. But also Randy Moss. Shout out to Randy Moss. Made his return to Sunday NFL Countdown after surviving cancer. We saw how emotional he was, and just a really great moment. You saw all the guys there. I think the whole crew gave him a standing ovation. And he sounded great. He looked great. So I know he's gonna be sharing some stories tonight.
Yes. All right, LaKeena, take us home.
All right, you can follow McGee on the Twitter, Executors Week, and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more game, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And you can catch our great content, Sports Zone Chicago, and replays of Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellows, and all the other great content we got here on Sports Zone Chicago. Check it out on the various Sports Zone Chicago Facebook and YouTube channels. If you missed our interviews or our NFL picks, our previews, it's all right there for you. You can catch it anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, so enjoy the game tonight, folks. We'll see how. Hopefully, the Bears don't, embarrass themselves on Monday Night Football like they've done in for years. I don't think they will, but you never know. You never know. But strange things have happened. But of course, enjoy the baseball, the WNBA. I know. Congrats to the Indiana Fever. They clinched that last playoff spot. If you're the Sky, you're just hoping and praying that the season's going to be over with soon. Thank God. They do play.
Reese may be out of town too, but that's a whole other show too.
Yeah, it is. And also, they play Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces tomorrow night on at 9. So if you want to watch that, you can, I guess. But all the great games you got coming up here this week. So for Sid, I'm the Kids of Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Bear down. Holla!